It's great to speak to you again.
Yeah,
Same here.
Yeah, we're very happy to speak to you again. So it's kind of becoming a tradition.
It is indeed. And I love it that we're doing it on the basis that there's something so important, so new and fresh to talk about. But first things first, I just want to check in and see how you're doing. So, Igor, are you well?
Thank you. Actually, this day I am, so that's nice.
That will do. All I need you to be is okay today. Anna, yourself?
I'm quite okay.
Daniel?
Yeah, very good. Second to last day in my current job now after 16 years. So after tomorrow, I go on a 1 week. No, sorry, that's too little. 1 month holiday.
Wow, incredible. Are you going somewhere? Or like, were you going abroad or anything?
No, it's just gonna be local. Maybe I will take a 4-hour drive to a scene called the Adolf gun, a 16-inch gun emplacement built by the Germans under the war that Norwegian coastal artillery took over and now runs as a museum in the town of Harstad.
Incredible. Wow. I hope you have a lovely time.
Yeah, that and catch some halibuts, hopefully.
All right, it's been about 13 months, a little over a year since we last spoke, which at the time had us focusing on one specific track, which was Burn the Boat. Whereas now we're going to be focusing on a full album. It's called Forge of Rebellion, and it is out on June 14th, 2024. So individually, let's start with you, Igor. What does it mean to you to release this album?
Well, I'm happy with it. I'm really happy how it turned out. So I think this is how we are today as a band. That's kind of the statement for right now. What will be in 2 years, we don't know. But right now, this is where we are. It's also kind of our first release that's not called Tale of Something Something. So we're really daring this time.
We tried, but then we thought it's better to go for a title we really like rather than a title we kind of had to tweak in order to make it fit into the Tales of topic.
You don't want to get yourself jammed into a theme just because you've done Tale before doesn't mean you have to again. And this at least ends that. So whatever you call future albums, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anna, how about you? What does it mean to you to get this album out?
It's always really nice to release an album. It's the excitement. It's in a way also the pride what we have achieved, and also again this time it has been an absolute joy working with Steve Walker of Merciless Mixing. He has done the mixing and mastering again, and he's just so great to work with. And then I think for this album, what is most special for me is it has been even more work with the solos. So I have been working hours and hours and hours on the solos, and it kind of also stood the test of time, where I wasn't only happy with them just after hearing the take, but also when the album is finished and I'm still like, yeah, that's exactly where I want to have it. And that's a nice feeling.
It's the best feeling, yes, that you're still loving it. How about you, Daniel? What's it mean to you?
To me, I think this album feels extra good because like the previous album, we liked that one as well. But it took some time to make the album. So maybe some of that for us personally felt dated by the time we got it out. But this time we learned more. We have matured, as has our process of making music. So I feel that the music now is maybe more, like Igor said in the beginning, is more representative of the place we find ourselves in. And also I find that the balance over the album, it is not like a collection of songs, like many times when you start up and you just pour some ideas into the big pot and stir it and see what comes out. This time it feels more uniform, but with a shared DNA in between the songs. And also, like I said, we have matured as well. The recording process, I feel, was much more smooth this time. We learned from before, the wildebeest from the fjord has learned how to use a metronome, so that helped a lot. And all in all, I feel that I can sit there with the album in hand and like give it a nod of approval and like, yeah, this is a good one, and you feel proud. I felt proud of the previous one as well, but maybe this one in particular.
Yeah, of course, because I mean, what you've done previously is still you're going to be satisfied with, you're going to be proud of. But obviously, as you grow as artists, you're going to find new creative directions, new creative ideas to go in. Is it fair to say then, as a group, this album is the most creatively pleasing music you've done?
Yeah, for me, I would say so. The previous albums were some old ideas that we honed into shape to fit the current state and the music style of the band. But this time I feel that we started more with a plain sheet of paper and like, you know, what do we want to make? You know, share ideas together, and then inspirations comes from every corner of the rehearsal room, and then we shape it anew. So it feels fresh in a way.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you've still got that excitement around it, because obviously as we approach an album release date, you've heard the song so many times. You've fiddled with them and changed and tried to perfect them as much as possible that you could almost get a little sick of hearing the music. I'll take it that you're not at that stage. You're still enjoying and loving what you're hearing.
It's a very good point, because I've always had, probably still have to some degree, when I listen to what I and we make, I'm listening through the creator's ear, you know. Almost said I don't know why. But, you know, you look, as you say, you look for the small things. That's where I missed a beat. That's where I dragged, you know, that kind of stuff. But now I find myself actually having this CD in the slot of my car, and I play it alongside 5 other CDs in that revolving cartridge of mine there, and I'm like listening to it like it is someone else's music, and that for me is new and is a good experience.
Oh, absolutely. What about Igor, Anna? Are you still loving it?
Oh, it goes. There are several ways to answer this, because in a way, as an album, definitely yeah, and there are always favorite songs, and I've never been able, and actually both that goes for our albums and also albums of bands I like. I'm never able to pick one favorite song. I always have several per album, and I still have them, the favorite songs, and I think at the same time, especially the solos, when Igor has been working on some of the videos that we are and have been releasing, and then going over and over the same 20 seconds of one song, and then it follows you the whole evening. That can be a bit much. But then the day after it's okay, so that's nice.
But I think it's good when it hooks you, that the solo or some melody stays with you for the rest of the evening just because you heard it. And I think, again, this album is, in a way, it's kind of more accessible. And it's not because we make easier songs, but we have kind of more of an idea that, yes, we need to actually perform this live, and how will the first-time listener hear it? Because everything is, of course, written in the rehearsal room, so we will perform it live. But now we have had the feedback and seen how people react, and we kind of then think about, okay, will other people be able to follow, or are we just playing it for ourselves on the stage? And I think also the production is much better. And Steve Walker really needs to get the credit there, because it's recorded in the same rehearsal room. So nothing on our end has changed, but he has really improved his mixing. And I just want to mention, kind of plug him here a bit, because he's making a studio in his home, and he's located a bit south of London on, I don't remember the name of the island, but it's just kind of like an hour outside of London. So he will have a studio. He will also do mixes that you send to him, and he gets great results from basically a basement recording.
The unsung heroes absolutely deserve the shout out, because ultimately they're often forgotten about when it comes to getting the best out of a band, and clearly he got the best out of you here. But I want to take you back. I want to take you back to the earliest point of Forge Rebellion's creation, and specifically the vision. Did you have a clear idea of what you wanted to do with this record?
No. No, what really happened is we released our previous album, and while we were releasing it, we, of course, we still go into the rehearsal room and we just try some ideas and see what becomes songs. And I think of those songs, the earliest would be Braving the Storm. And then I think also Ghost Story is quite old. That respect, kind of just finishing it as a song. And at that point, we didn't have this kind of whole topic that it ended with, this kind of whole rebellion. And of course, we have always this kind of writing about social issues in a fantasy context. But we didn't really plan it out to become this type of album. Like Ghost Story was initially just a ghost story because we watched some series on Netflix and we had a cool riff. So I think we never really had any vision because beyond just playing cool riffs. And then you start working on it at one idea feeds off the other, and like Secrets of the Forge and Humankind's Fall is actually one song that we split up because we were pulling in different directions and it made no sense to include all the riffs in the same song. But that also meant that I've changed all the lyrics and kind of going back and forth. What even is the topic of the song? Would it be kind of more of this medieval epic? Would it be a futuristic song, or what it actually added up as? So I think it's very much finding out while we're in the process instead of kind of planning anything in advance. I think every time we've planned something in advance, we just fuck it up and you can't use it for anything.
I mean, we always keep rehearsing, we always keep producing, and like you said, all of a sudden we find ourselves with a set of new songs, and then the talk starts. We're starting to get a certain number here. Maybe we should start thinking of the next album. So let's say after 2-3 songs have started to get into shape, we start to shape the potential next album. And from that point, we start to maybe sense a direction of where we're going. Then we start to add songs because the already mentioned 3 songs, they might inspire the other songs. And then we have the ball rolling. And then we start to continue the production and then also fine tune what we already have.
That's these sorry, go on. Go on, Anna.
Oh. And no, it goes that way around, that we start with ideas and then from there the concepts develop. Because as you say, once we try, and we never really do it, but sometimes we have this, okay, let's try to go for this and this concept. And in any way, we will end up in a completely different direction. Just to give one example, I think 10 years ago, literally 10 years ago, I had this idea. I want to make a song about Guantanamo. And it's horrible to say that this still today would be a very relevant song. But it has remained at that stage of just this idea. I just couldn't go from concept to song and then composition. It really always goes the other way around.
Well, continuing with that sort of theme, see, your ideas are evolving and they're growing into what we have now. Did you always feel in control? Did you feel like you knew the path you were taking, particularly as you get into the later stages of a full album?
I don't think we kind of think about it in the way of having control. It's just kind of, it flows naturally. It's not like we need to control anything at the point of songwriting, and usually we will get surprises. I think almost always we will, while we record, there will be another song emerging. So for this album, we had planned 5 songs, or actually we've planned 5 songs. We had written 4, and then we had this Humankind's Fall, Secret of the Forge song. So suddenly we had 2 songs.
Mm.
And I think that goes with everything we do. It's kind of, it's not kind of a need for control because we know each other. We know how we will handle things. So it's more kind of a controlled
It's
chaos.
confidence. It's confidence in your own abilities.
Yes.
And your question really makes me realize that I think we have the privilege of being able to take control for granted, creative control. And I think that in a way is the privilege of being an underground band. Or it could, on the other hand, also in a completely different context, be the privilege of a band that owns their own studio, is super famous and doesn't need to have a producer or anything and just do whatever the fuck they want. But it really, I think it's one of the upsides of being in the underground. It's just we do whatever we want. And I think that's really liberating, to be honest.
Completely understand that, and of course your freedom and want to do what you want comes through on all your records, including the new one, because anyone who's heard Dreamslain before will find a lot of familiarity with this new record. It is of course highly experimental, highly creative, but did you set yourselves any sort of limitations when it came to creativity on this album? Any points where you said, okay, this is just too much, even for us?
Oh, yeah. I always very much put the foot down when it comes to bagpipes.
Oh!
Sorry about that.
I want my bagpipes. No accordion.
Okay, that was his limit.
But that's really kind of... actually, we have some kind of limits, and that's it if it doesn't sound like us. And the other limit is we should be able to pull this off on stage without using playback.
And play it live after being dead tired after playing, let's say, 5 songs before that.
I love that. Absolutely. On that, I cannot wait for your next record then. Although we're talking about current record, it isn't even out as of the time of recording. I can't wait for your next record and hearing those bagpipes, because you got to get them on there now.
Thank you.
All right, individually then, I'd like you all to think, if you can, of an aspect of the entire album creation process. So from the very beginning to where we are now, that challenged you, something you found particularly challenging about the process.
Well, I can just start, because for me, it's always the vocals. Because I've started as a guitar player, and vocals has always been a necessity because I never could find someone to sing the songs I wanted to compose. And so I kind of had to figure out vocals, and I started very kind of just by myself, and I've then taken some lessons, then tried out more, and now I have a really good teacher. I take online lessons from the singer of Dark Quarter, the Italian epic progressive metal band that started in the 80s that is still going strong today. And that has made me able to, just when we are composing, to take the demos to him and get the help I needed to actually be able to pull it off. So I think vocal-wise, I don't think anyone else would think it, because it's not that complicated vocals, but they are very complicated for me. So for me, that was really a challenge, and I sometimes thought, will I need to simplify this? And then I got some help, and were able to, like on Ghost Story, the first heavy verse, that's really hard to wrap my head around, because there are 2 different melodies being played at the same time, and I need to sing a third melody that is kind of a compromise between those 2. And if I let myself be led by any of those 2 melodies already being played, I will sing wrong.
Mhm.
So you have to think a lot, and then of course a lot of things are going on, and especially when we will perform it live, this will be a challenge.
Mm. You're up for it though, right? You're up for the challenge.
We will see. Hopefully it will go well.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Anna, Daniel, you got one? Something that challenged you?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's it's split in two. The challenges come in the creation process and in the recording process. Usually, what I like to say is that I get a melody served from one of them, and then I try to find that the drum beat that I feel goes naturally with the song. That it can have some artistic liberties, but for me, I'm always playing different stuff until I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's where I want it. This is the drum beat that fits this. And then after a while, you have to take a bird's perspective, listen to it, and then you can at least for me, then I hear like, okay, this is maybe too slow. Maybe we could add some tingling on the cymbals here. Maybe some hum work, maybe more double bass here. And let's say we come to an aggressive part, I will be thinking, does this need a regular, let's say a blast beat? Does it need a aggressive bomb blast, or should I just triple the speed on the bass drum and continue with a regular 4x4 on the ride and the snare? But yeah, it's about for me finding that the drum track that fits the song, and it has to be a drum track that leans on the song. It has to be something that supports the song, and in some cases maybe it will empower the song. So that's for me. It's the finding that little fine balance.
And do you feel that you hit as close to the perfect balance as you could overall on this record?
Yeah, pretty close. I will never say I am 100% happy. So I will probably find some things, but this time I feel happy. It sounds gilly gilly go go, but I am feeling happy when I'm listening to it. I'm like, yeah, this is probably as close as I can get to happy on this point in time with the time we put down on the album and when it went into the press. I will probably a week, two from now, a month, find something. I should have done that. Should have done this. But
It just
those
means
ideas, yeah.
It just means you're happy until the next time. And the next time.
Oh yeah, already brewing some ideas for the next album, and without revealing too much, there will be death blasting. Antoine.
I just want to mention that actually we worked a lot on the drums on this record because Daniel was able to nail them quite fast. I told last time we would do 2 or 3 takes and Daniel would nail it. And then sometimes Daniel wasn't happy and we had to go and rework the drum take because he wanted to have something else. So that has also been new, and that's why things have taken longer than we wanted. It's because we needed to re-record because the idea had developed.
Yeah, as for me, there are several aspects I've been thinking of. One of them is, and that to some extent it might be the curse of being a social scientist, is when it comes to concepts and lyrics, there is this constant questioning going on in my mind. What kinds of ideas are we putting out there? And where are our blind zones? What don't we see that we should be seeing? To give an example, on Braving the Storm, where there is the lyrical theme of people having to flee and making the hard choice to try and cross the Mediterranean Sea in an extremely dangerous journey. And the topic of refugees, it is so easy because of what we read all the time in the media. And even if we don't want to do that, it's very easily done because of our socializing that we end up passivizing the people who are crossing the sea and are called refugees in that case. And there I think we did some reworking of the lyrics based on that to be very clear that people whatever background, they have agency, and this has to be respected. And also, of course, then again, the new topic comes in, because in many contexts, people with refugee backgrounds in a European context, the agency they are granted is in a most negative way by people on the political right, as kind of these people are invading our continent or something like that. And of course, that's the last thing we would want to kind of feed into. So it's kind of agency, but in a humanizing way. So yeah, and this constant rethinking, we did some adjusting as well on Dragon of Ice. There was, is it okay if I mention that? Because there was a color dynamic that would have turned out a bit off. There was kind of, you know, the very Lord of the Ringsy topic of black as bad and white is good.
I see.
And then I read through it and it was, wait a minute, is this something we want to communicate? No, you know what? Let the dragons have another color. And so we've changed that. And apart from that, I could mention as a particular challenge, and that's going right from the structural kind of societal level right down to the individual. I do have a certain amount of performance anxiety, not on stage, which I'm really happy about, because that would really be sad, but when recording. And that's not very nice to deal with, both for me and also for Igor, who is doing the actual recording and has to kind of go through all those takes.
I almost want to dig into that last part there just a little bit more. Have you been able to identify perhaps why there is the performance anxiety, but not on stage? Because you, as you said, you would think almost that you would get that more on stage than you would elsewhere.
I think it's because on stage we're together.
Okay.
And also I don't have that performance anxiety when rehearsing. Sometimes it can be a bit, especially when working on solos, but not in this kind of really disturbing, in this way that really disturbs me. Because yeah, it's really, we are together, we're making something together. Basically we're making music together. And whereas, because I know I did play some classical piano solo and some, you know, those kinds of small school concerts and stuff like that. And there I used to have performance anxiety because I was playing alone.
Yeah. I think talking about this anxiety of recording, I think you could use like a comparison with an artist who maybe makes a sculpture, makes a painting. Under the process itself, you're terrified of making the mold wrong, making the brushes wrong. But when we are on stage, it is completed. We now have left to show the audience what we have created. And I think we all kind of focus pretty hard that, okay, this is it. We're just gonna do what we always did and just show them. So our shoulders go down, but our ears close because we are focused on the actual result.
Okay, let's take that same question but reverse it this time. So I'd like you all to think about this aspect. Again, looking at the entire process of creation of Forge of Rebellion, I want you to basically think about your favorite moments, memories that when you reflect on this record in a year or 2 years' time, you're going to go, that was great, and I'm really happy we did that.
Stay with Steve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think it's really, and just working with him over and over again made him understand really what we were aiming for. So it went very smooth this time to just kind of get what we wanted and kind of produce the sound we wanted in the mix. But another thing is the opening riff on Humankind's Fall. Was that just also trying out in the rehearsal room and kind of, yes, this is it. We need to make a song with this riff as an opener.
Awesome.
I think for me, it's, I would say some of the parts of Ghost Story, that is just, I love them so much. And it's really, maybe I can put this out there. I have one solo on Ghost Story, but sometimes when playing for myself, I play another solo over a different part. and maybe one day this could appear on YouTube. Who knows? But this is, I think, really a testimony to that song and
Yeah.
to those riffs and verses that I just love so much, and also it's so nice to play them.
My brain's still buffering. Thank you.
I love how enthusiastic you all are coming across regarding this album. It is really heartening from my end to hear all these the positive stories that you have surrounding that, even the things that challenged you are only making you stronger and better artists as you continue to grow and grow and grow. So it's fantastic to hear that, because I think it's really important for people to know, perhaps who aren't aware of Dreamslain, is that, of course, you have fantastical elements, but ultimately it's about issues as well tied that plague our world and elements like that. Were you quite insistent or sure that you wanted to get that aspect, the mix of fantastical fantasy elements and real world issues, that you wanted that to be clearer on this record?
I think it's more kind of where I am now as the lyricist. So like the previous album that had songs from starting from when I was 18 and no 17 with Shadow Warriors, and up to, well, the album recording. And of course I would develop as a lyricist and a writer in that time, while now what I want to write about right now is those topics. For the next album, probably we might shift a bit more towards fantasy. I want to kind of probably go more into this kind of historical and fantasy elements, and maybe not write so much about present time, but it will still kind of have this same ideology. But also, as an example of developing as a songwriter, Dragon of Ice was first written by me when I was 18, and then we never made it work in the band before this album. And I changed a bit of the lyrics, but not that much, and therefore it has a very kind of different feel in the lyrics than the rest of the album. It's much more high fantasy. Because that was what I wanted to write when I was 18. So it's very much a song of where I had to kind of reconnect with me as an 18-year-old and say, okay, what would I feel was cool then that I still feel cool now? I'm tired.
No worries. I thought you wanted to say something. And I think this, because yeah, we've been talking about the historical themes, and it just made me realize, because also with the album now, Forge of Rebellion, we didn't really have this at the onset idea of exactly these and these topics we want to address. And I think history is important and interesting to us because we connected to the present. So I think even when we are going to dig into historical topics, we will choose those topics. And I think that goes naturally, that we naturally choose the historical topics that are relevant to us today.
Yeah, unfortunately, in a lot of negative cases, there are so many things historically that are still as relevant. You mentioned before about refugees and so on, as relevant now as they were decades ago. Obviously, I live in the UK. We have a general election coming up, and one of the most pressing topics in that involves refugees. So it's forever relevant, which really makes Braving the Storm such a uniquely important track right now for me from the album. But I also want to give a shout out to how much I really, really enjoy Humankind's Fall, because that might be the most distinctive track I think you've ever done, and its position as the finale makes that even more powerful. So I just want to say well done on that, guys.
Thank you.
Right, what do you hope, though, listeners? What do you want, or what do you hope a listener takes away from the album overall?
Well, first of all, I want a listener to listen to it as a metal record. And then I want the listener to listen to it again as a prog record. Because we have kind of both, but it's first and foremost a metal record, and it's again kind of this teenager idea of what metal should be. And I think some underground bands and kind of bands that are not very genre specific or defying genre make this kind of records, like a Skinflint from was it Botswana or Manila Road, kind of this. More people try to put them in a subgenre, and it's just, it doesn't work. But you know, this is metal. This is how metal should be, and I hope people will experience our record the same way. It's maybe not thrash or death metal or heavy metal, but you should recognize it as a metal record, and you should think of it as this is metal.
It's an umbrella. Metal sits at the top. Everything else hangs down from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I'm dividing the audience into two groups: those who know us and those who don't. So I hope the old listeners will listen to it and, of course, like it for what it is. But also, on personal level, I hope that they will say, "Oh, this is even better than the previous one," so that the old listeners can see and feel and hear the progression that we made. And I hope new listeners, I've said before that I think we cater to those oddballs around the world. And I hope they will listen to this and like, huh, this is weird in a good way, because we have our roots in heavy metal and some power metal. We have classic, and we have me trying to be the dark influence with black and death metal from the sideline. And I hope that the conjunction of all of these styles will appeal to a lot of people. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the death and black influence comes from me as well. It's just yesterday and today has been a complete death metal day for me. I've been listening, black and death and death. I've been listening to Scarab and Natchahanam, two absolutely wonderful bands.
We do Doom.
Yes.
Yes.
Doom is cool as well. Absolutely. Now, what I would like the listeners to get out of our album, I really liked both of your answers. I have to say, it's because I think this is becoming our trademark. It's kind of catering to the oddballs, weird but cool, kind of, or not weird but cool, but weird, and I like it kind of audience.
Open-minded listeners.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. And what I really would love for people to get out of our album is this kind of recognizing the passion for music, and I think this really reflects how I relate to music. When I discover new music, and it ignites something in me. It's just, this is wonderful music. This I want to listen to more. So this really kind of connecting our passion for music in a way. So that would be really great if we could transfer in a way to listeners as well.
Yeah, and when we listen to some albums together, always one of us says, "Wow, I bet they had fun making this one." And that's an important thing, because sometimes when bands release a song or an album, you can feel that these people, they had a great time making it, because it shows so clearly in the music.
Interesting, because although I don't want to give too much away, I've written words already about the album. It's just, it's sitting in a draft state because it's too early to put a review up for an album that comes out on the 14th of June. And one of the things I noted was that it does appear this might be the most fun you've had on this album to date. So I'm gonna go on a limb here and say you did have a lot of fun with this record. Yes?
Absolutely. And also because we this time knew so well what we were doing, there was no panic in the recording room because something doesn't work out the way we thought it should be working, because we didn't know better.
And as a drummer, I feel happy because a lot of what I like to call my "how about this one" has been added. The small ideas that I try out, like I said earlier in the interview, I start with, let's say, a very basic beat to support the song. And after a few rehearsals, I'm like, what if I do this? And then I'm sitting there like an eager little boy, like, did you guys like it? How about that instead? And then I hear, yes. So I feel this album has a few of those how about this ones.
Fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. But also kind of this time, because we film a lot when we record, when we use them for videos and stuff. And there's a lot of takes we can't use because one of us is grinning ear to ear. And
Yeah. You've got to look like a serious, it's metal, so you've got to be serious.
Yeah, and we're not. When we record, it's not. I'm all the way standing here. Okay, no, there you should go with next part and kind of. And it looks silly and it's fun. No, but really, playing in Dreamslain is fun. That's kind of the main thing. We do this for fun because we love this.
It's a fantastic way to wrap this interview up because I'm glad that you had a lot of fun and I cannot wait for people to experience Forge of Rebellion. It is on June 14th, 2024. In my opinion, the best thing you've done to date. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.